Hello again. Welcome back to Lost in Translation. My name is Nico, and this week we're taking a look at the Torah portion Nasso and the 10 things that you will miss if you are reading the portion only in English. So let's go on to number one. Sons of Gershon. Okay, take a census of the sons of Gershon. Well, who are these people, the sons of Gershon? And these are the this is the family of Moses' first son, right? He was a foreigner in a foreign land, so he named his son, you know, Ger, foreigner, Gershon. And it's interesting here that we don't attach this to Moses's name, that it's made more obscure through the name of his son, and that we see that these people carry the tent and they do all their work at the command of Aaron and his son is his son. Okay, um, so we have this reversal of roles here now, where where Moshe was the one receiving the commands and giving them to Aaron, and now his sons will be receiving commands and doing what Aaron tells them to do. And this is another testament of the humility that is part of this quality of Moshe, right? That there was nothing in his service that was passed on to the next generation. There was no kingship, there was no priesthood. There was his one generation of service, and his sons get to carry the tabernacle for 40 years. And then after that, they get to serve in the temple so long as it exists as Levites. And they kind of fade away into obscurity. Nobody talks about being a son of Moshe. However, we know who the sons or the offspring of Aaron are. All of them have the last name Cohen or priest. So it's it's a it's a very interesting result of this highest prophet kind of being lost to obscurity. Okay, number two, expel from the camp. Okay, so it's interesting. Vaishalahu means to send out. So here it gets translated as banished. Sometimes it's translated as here in the art scroll, it's expel, but really it's send out, right? By that that Jacob vaishlach his emissaries, he shalach his emissaries to Esau. I mean, there's lots of examples of this verb here being used to send, right? And who are we sending out? We're sending out anybody who has an impurity, who is unclean through contact with the dead, who's got the skin eruption, who has a discharge, male and female alike. We want them out because the camp is holy. Not only is the tabernacle holy, I mean, it's the holiest of, there's the holy of holy, and then there's the tabernacle around it, and then there's the camp the of the Levites around that, and then there's the camp of Israel around that. And inside that camp, it is a place of spiritual purity, connection to HaShem, and outside the camp is the rest of the world. And if you have people who are not connected to HaShem because of spiritual impurity, they need to be outside of the camp until they can purify themselves and rejoin that connection to the Creator. Number three, restitution. This is an interesting part of Jewish law, that Jewish law is not so much about punishment as it is about restitution. So if anybody wrongs another person, man or woman, he he steals something, he even accidentally walks off with something. I don't know. I probably don't. I still have to make restitution if it's intentional, right? The person is found guilty of this situation, of a crime. You know, they're supposed to confess it, right? They hit baddo, right? They shall confess the sin, the and and they have to make restitution. It's not just enough to make a confession. They have to give back the principal amount plus a 20% penalty. Now, here the Torah is very interesting because restitution is still important, even if there's nobody left of the family that was wronged to receive that restitution. The offending person, the offending Jew, should give this restitution to the priest. And that way they will have disconnected their egoism from the item that they took or the wrong that they committed, and they will have purified it through giving it to a holy purpose. Number four, the wayward wife. Okay, here we go into something very interesting in the Torah, talking about the sotah, the wayward wife. What a man should do if he suspects his wife of being unfaithful. And before we get into the details of this, we have to remember always that the Torah is talking about spirituality here. And we've got the spiritual unit of the individual. But then we have to understand why marriage exists. Marriage exists so that I can have somebody in my life where I can practice loving the other how I love myself, right? It gives me one individual to place that exercise upon, right? So that I can come closer to HaShem. And so we have to understand that both sides of that union have to be failing at that mission for this case to come about, whether there was actually any real impropriety or not, if it was only suspected or if it was true. Irregardless, uh, it's a spiritual condition that's not being met by the couple together. And so this case of how to resolve it through the waters, the bitter waters, that either bring curse or bring a child, depending on the guilt or innocence of the woman in the situation. Um, this is a road for the couple to become recommitted to that spiritual path of coming to love one another as they love themselves. And why is the successful result a child? Because that's the next step. Once there's a child involved, there's another person to love the way I love myself. And now that I've accomplished that in the family, I can try to exercise that in the community and then further out into the world, right? The whole point of marriage in Torah is to bring the Jew closer to HaShem. And we see here in this case of the Sotah that this is the road back to that objective when people may lose sight of why they're actually married. Number five, the meal offering of jealousy. Okay, this is very interesting. This is unlike other meal offerings, right? Um, it's barley flour that's being used, and he's not supposed to put any oil over it, and there's not supposed to be any frankincense. Basically, barley flour is very coarse, and this signifies that the couple has acted coarsely towards each other, right? They haven't been fine. They haven't been nice to each other. Um, whether the whether the husband has been coarse enough towards his wife to cause her to look for other company, or whether the wife has been coarse enough to towards the husband to not consider his feelings, right? So that he becomes jealous. Okay. There's this. The other thing is that barley is usually um, animal feed. And so it's used in this offering because we're dealing with a couple that's fallen from its exalted mission of connection to the creator through love of other into their basic animal either desire or emotions. I mean, there's sexual desire, which is an animal imperative, but jealousy also is animalistic. There's nothing of jealousy in spirituality, right? So this meal offering of barley demonstrates that this couple has a problem and they've come there to correct it. Okay, number 6, bitter waters. Okay, so now we have this description about how the Cohen will write the curse of the sota onto a scroll and then erase it into bitter water and mix it with some of the the dirt on the floor. Um, and this bitter water will, you know, here it says that in the curse that her belly to swell and her thigh to rupture, right, or to collapse, or right. It's interesting here that we're talking about death, right? But what kind of death are we talking about? A swollen belly, distended belly, and a ruptured thigh, and the woman's supposed to die from this. Well, we're either believing in magic here, or we're understanding again that we're talking about spiritual death, right? That if she fails to confess uh, an indiscretion, and which would cause a divorce, right? Which is a complete failure of the union and a complete failure of that couple's mission for HaShem. That is a spiritual death. It means that, you know, yeah, that the objective wasn't made. So, is this woman really dying on the floor of the tabernacle? Could there be a poison in this? Maybe, but at the same time, the Torah is about spirituality. We're talking about the marriage failing, and through that failure, both the husband and the wife fall into a spiritual death because they're no longer in a condition where they can use their relationship to connect to that quality of HaShem through the love of others. Okay, number 8, dirt. This is very interesting to me. We have a lot of talk about earth and land, right? Adama, Aretz. But here, right, that the Kohen will take some earth from the floor, the Mishkan floor, but it's not it's not earth like Adama. connected back to Adam. It's not audits or like connected back to desire. It's right here, afar, which is dirt, which is connected to being dirty, which is, the stuff that's under our feet, which is the stuff that animals roll around in. Again, it's connected to this baseness, like the barley, coming back to the failure of the couple, right? So all these things, all this symbolism comes back to the baseness of the problem in the couple in their failure to connect to HaShem. Number 9, the Nazir. It's very interesting that directly after this discussion about the wayward wife, the Sotah, we come to this discussion of a Nazir, a Nazirite. And what is a Nazirite? Well, a Nazirite is somebody who takes a vow to abstain from certain worldly pleasures, most of it connected to alcohol, to grapes, to wine, even raisins, grape derived food and drink, um, is is what the Nazir will abstain from for the duration of his vow and or her vow, and she also has to keep a higher level of purity during the time of the vow. And if that purity is broken, then the time starts over again, right? There's shaving of the hair and everything. But the point is here that the Nazir takes upon this vow because, again, a man or a woman sets himself apart, right? And abstains for the sake of the Lord, for the sake of HaShem, right? Remember, HaShem is connected to love and mercy. So something happens where this person feels that they are falling away from HaShem. So they have a way of cutting themselves off from certain worldly pleasures in order to refocus their life and their efforts to connection to HaShem, La HaShem. Okay, number 10, the dedication offerings. Okay, now we have the the pre the okay, now we have the princely gifts, the inauguration gifts. Now the princes of Israel didn't bring any gifts for the construction of the Mishkan, so they waited until the end, and then they didn't have to. So now they really put their best foot forward and brought a lot. And we're told that each one of them came up with this formula of what to bring independently. And the Midrash really investigates the meaning of what's happening here. That there's a lot of gematria connecting the these offerings back to events in the Torah, right? That here we've got the silver bowl. This is the numeric value here is 930. That connects back to the years of Adam's life, and that we've got, it's 130 shekels is its weight, and that's the age that they were when they had when Adam and Eve, Adam and Chava had set their first son, right? We've got this spoon, this silver spoon, which connects back to the years of the life of Noah, and we've got what else? Yes, that this basin is 70 shekels in weight, which connects back to the 70 nations that came back that came from Noah after the flood. So this whole area, this whole Each gift is rich with meaning and symbolism. There's so much to learn in it, right? So each part of the Torah and each gift is supposed to actually have different meaning and different, despite being physically um, identical, connecting back to the name of the giver of the gift, the quality of each gift is different. So there is a whole study right here. Anyway, and that's all I have for you today. I hope you found it interesting and helpful. And if there's anything that I missed, something interesting you found, please share it in the comments. And as always, like, share, subscribe, comment, and until next time, be well.